Well, let's get down to business. The one that we're discussing tonight on the program. The committee set up by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to investigate allegations of underage voter registration and voting in Kano, as dismissed claims as a mere rumor. Addressing journalists at a news conference in Abuja about the outcome of the committee's investigations, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the Independent National Electoral Commission's voter register in Kano does not contain underage voters. The inquest was informed by allegations of underage voters during the February 10, 2018 local government elections in Kano State, which used the voters register that was provided by INEC. Well, we have some of the viral videos and pictures. Channels Television cannot independently verify the authenticity of those materials, but those were the premise on which these stories went viral, and INEC are to investigate. But it gets us talking, especially when we are expecting the 2019 general elections, which is coming in about 200 days from now. So what exactly do we need to know about the INEC register? Do we need to have some fears about the authenticity and the fidelity of the register? So let's get talking, everyone. Joining me from our Abuja studio is the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC, Mr. Oluwole Osazu-Uzi, and from Akure is an election observer and election process analyst, Mr. Abiodun Ajijola. He's also the National Coordinator of the Election Monitor. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program today. Let's begin with you, Mr. Osazu-Uzi from our Abuja studio. A lot of Nigerians are afraid that with what they saw online, true or false, it brings the fear of how good or how solid INEC register is, especially with the stories that we hear about underage voters. So the question would be, how can INEC, or how does INEC verify the age of a registrant when it comes forward for registration?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me. Good evening, Nigerians. Well, you see, the process of registration is outlined in the Electoral Act mainly, and also in the guidelines of the Commission of INEC guidelines. And basically, the registration officer has a right to demand proof of nationality, proof of age, and such other things that may determine your eligibility for the register. So if you appear as old as I do, then obviously nobody's going to ask you for a birth certificate if I say I'm over 18 years old. But if there are some borderline cases where some people are young looking, they may or may not be, and in such a case, the registration officer has a right, in fact, a duty to demand that you provide a proof of your age. And that is usually the only, maybe a baptismal certificate, a birth certificate, and in certain cases, especially in the rural areas, may ask for an affidavit or an adult that he knows whose name appears in the register to say or to verify that fact. So basically, those are the things that we use to determine the age of a person where there is some doubt. But if there's no doubt you look old enough, then he will put you on the register and take your word for it, or the date of birth, if you obviously look well above 18 years of age. So,
but INEC cannot say, for example, that it has or it does not have underage voters in its voter register. Can INEC authoritatively tell Nigerians that?
Yes, INEC can authoritatively say that certainly there isn't the prevalence of underage voters in the register. There are some borderline cases where we're not so sure, but through the checks that we do, through visual checks, through business process rules, we flag some people. And when we flag people, we may demand, especially immediately after the registration has taken place, to say, look, are you sure this person is this? And certainly try to investigate that as best as we can. And I've heard of, that's basically what we do. But the Nahuche committee, which investigated the Kano incidents, said there was nobody brought credible evidence to show that there was a prevalence of underage voters in the register in Kano State or any other state for that matter.
Okay, then we take a breather on the program. Don't go anywhere, everyone, because some of these your fears that you have been expressing. Some of them you tweeted and you sent us messages to us. We're bringing them to the fore, and we hope to be able to deal with those issues on the program tonight. We'll return after this break, everyone. Join us again.